Welcome, welcome. Hey, Marita. Just let a few people jump on here first and then get going. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Callum. So, over the weekend, Saturday night, there was an attempted robbery at the Bellagio. And so you might have seen High Desert and Prince Vegeta, James Freeman. They were right there trying to get some video. So I kind of just wanted to talk about officer-involved shootings and sort of how the process works here and what's changed. Uh oh, I need to get on there and check that out. Yeah, the courthouse here, they don't fuck around. They arrested Joshua Martinez there and issued him a trespass. And so, he's in the process of fighting that um, trespass. So, anyways, the robbery at the Bellagio, it's kind of not the first time that there's been an armed robbery at the Bellagio. I think one of probably the most famous case was back in 2014, I believe. This cat, Anthony Carmelo, he was the son of a district court judge here, and they called him the motorcycle bandit because he robbed a craps table for like $1.5 million. Um, and so actually, he got his start. He robbed a casino before that, the Suncoast, in kind of what I think is sort of like the perfect crime. He parked his motorcycle just right outside of the poker room and then walked inside. Hey, Carlos. He walked inside with wearing his motorcycle helmet. And on Wednesdays at the Gold Coast, they have this really big poker game where players might be have 10, 15, $20,000 in front of them. And so he walked into the poker room, he robbed that table, and then he robbed the casino, the poker cage. The poker room has its own casino cage there, and so I believe he got like $19,000 from the casino cage. And then they never did say how much he stole from the poker players, but because uh, the exit doors were just right there in the poker room, he was able to just exit immediately out to where he had parked his motorcycle, and he made a totally clean getaway. And so I think they estimated he got something like $60,000 or $70,000. Hey, Foxtrot Tango, he got like $60,000 or $70,000 in that robbery. So after that, he decided to up the ante and go and actually rob the Bellagio. And so actually, I think he had a really pretty decent plan. He waited. It was dark 30. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. He rode his motorcycle right up to the main valet, just got off of his motorcycle and left it sitting there. Walked into the casino again wearing this helmet, motorcycle helmet, and he went to one of the craps tables and pulled a gun out and robbed the craps table. And so on the craps table they have chips, and what he just focused on the high denomination chips, hundreds, 500s. Then they have thousands and $5,000 chips, and even $25,000 chips. So he ended up getting away with $1.5 million worth of chips. But the problem is, $100 chips, $500 chips, not that big of a deal, pretty easy to get rid of. But those higher denomination chips, immediately as soon as the crime was done, Bellagio was coming out in the press saying they have RFID chips and they're all serial numbered, and so they're higher denomination. Yeah, I hear that. I'm gonna have to go check it out. I hope those guys didn't get arrested. Um, but I did. Someone already mentioned that. Yeah, the federal marshals, they don't mess around. They arrested Joshua Martinez there at the courthouse. So, got to be careful here. Um, anyways, so he got all these chips, huge amounts. But then the problem, and so then he turned around and he went back out. He got on his motorcycle and uh, fled the scene, got away clean. So he was kind of stuck with the problem of getting rid of the chips, and being a poker player, he just went back to the Bellagio and started filtering some of the chips through the poker room. But like I said, he was afraid, I think, to pass the larger denomination chips because he thought that they had a record since they were serial numbered. And so what he attempted to do was go on to some poker forums and offered to sell chips at a discounted rate. And so somebody turned him in, and they set up a little sting operation, and they bagged him. And so just to show you how serious the prosecutor and the police they take that, he robbed this craps table, and basically they didn't charge him with one count of armed robbery. They charged him with 9 counts of armed robbery, 1 count for each person that was standing at the craps table, which I guess there were 6 customers, and then there's 3 workers, or actually 4 workers at the table. So it must have been 5 customers, 4 workers at the table, and they charged him with a count for each person that was at the table. So he got a really stiff sentence for that. Shows you can't really try to rob casinos here. It's not a good call. So anyways, in 2017, or actually it was maybe 2015 or 2016, there was another dude, Scott Carmichael, kind of like a crackhead from Kansas City. He walked into the Bellagio in broad daylight and went to the casino cage, showed a gun, and they gave him like $42,000 in cash, and he walked out of the casino and actually got away. And so you or I would probably be smart enough to not hang around the strip, but that cat, what did he do? He went down to the Hard Rock Casino, which is maybe a mile away, paid a tourist to rent him a hotel room, and then started spending this cash at the stores and hiring prostitutes. So the guy that he paid money to rent the room was suspicious, contacted the police, and they ended up going and staking out his room. Prostitutes leave his room, and they've got $100 bills with still the bands around it from the Bellagio, and so he went down for that. And so then in 2017, someone actually got away with the crime that was committed Saturday night, which was they went to the poker cage and in the poker room of the Bellagio, and they robbed that poker cage. And that guy kind of did the same thing. He cut through the Bellagio and exited out the North Valet. He had parked his car there initially, and then he got into his car and he was able to flee and get away. And so they never did catch that guy. And so there is some speculation by the police that maybe the guy that did the robbery Saturday night was the same guy. But whoever did the robbery Saturday night did not have a good plan, because I can tell you, trying to rob someplace the Bellagio is right in the middle of the strip, and at 9:45 on a Saturday night, there must be 200 cops in that general area at any given time. I mean, if you've ever been to the strip on a Saturday night, they have a super heavy police presence. And in fact, right there, kind of in front of the Bellagio, in front of the Planet Hollywood, that's where they keep their vehicles, and they sort of they'll keep their paddy wagon there. And so anybody that gets in trouble all up and down the strip, they go and bring them to the paddy wagon before they take them to the Clark County Detention Center. So there was a huge police presence there. Apparently this guy robbed the cage and then went out the North Valet. And again, on a Saturday night, like you would literally have to go past 1,000 people to get out of the casino. Like it was I mean, it's St. Patty's Day weekend. It was just incredible in the number of people that were around. And so when he exited out to the North Valet, he attempted to steal a vehicle, and there was a shootout. He managed to shoot one of the officers, who I guess didn't get injured because he had a bulletproof vest on. But then they shot the suspect. They took him to the hospital, and then over the weekend he died. So that's officer involved shooting number 4 for this year for 2019. So what I was going to talk about was Metro is a lot more transparent about their about officer involved shootings now. Um, when I first started, hey, hi Desert, how are you doing, man? Um, you know, I remember for years, like by say 2005, they shot him in the head. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. They usually train people to shoot center mass, so I don't know if that was maybe an accident. Um, but and welcome, Las Vegas Auditor. So let me just get back to thought here. Oh yeah. So what they used to have here is what they call the coroner's inquest panel. So anytime someone was murdered, they would have the coroner do the investigation. A guy tried to rob the Bellagio casino on Saturday night, and so they used to have this coroner's inquest process, and so it was always, I think by 2005, I want to say that there was something like 170 instances where the police had shot and killed suspects here, and it ran the gamut from, I mean, there was a case where the guy was sitting on the toilet when the cops busted into his place, and he was in the bathroom, and they shot him and killed him. And so in this whole 170 time over the years, never once did the coroner's inquest find a cop liable for shooting someone. And so, it was sort of like a grand jury process where it was kind of kept in secret. The person that got shot, couldn't, couldn't bring forth any evidence or make any statements or anything. It was a very one-sided process. And so there was a kind of a more famous case. This guy at the Costco shopping center, walked into the Costco shopping center, and he was kind of dealing with people and being a little erratic, and the police were called, and when they showed up, they started barking orders at him in the parking lot, and one of them's telling him get down, one of them's telling him get up, or keep your hands up. One of them's telling him to get down, and they ended up shooting that guy to death. And again, they weren't found criminally negligent, but if you kind of watched it the way it went down, like it was not handled correctly, sort of poor training. So now, with the advent of YouTube for the past couple of years, now they've got this process down to where as soon as there's a shooting, they put out the preliminary details, and so they have like a little press conference, usually like right on the scene, and then they put it up onto YouTube. And then within 72 hours, they have to have an actual real press conference where they discuss the details. And usually at that second press conference, they go and release the body cam footage. So we should see within the next day or two the body cam footage from that shooting. But I sort of, it's kind of at least put a lot more transparency to the shooting. And it seems like the shootings where they're just, you know, before the advent of the body cams, and Metro did fight having body cams for a long time, but before the advent of body cams, they really just had a lot of shady killings. A lot of shady times when they shot people, and it's just hard to consider how could the guy be a threat when he's sitting on the toilet. Yeah, actually, well, no, I was telling you the guy was in the process of committing an armed robbery, and so he got shot and killed. So I guess we'll get the details. Then there was a second. Anyways, so if you go to Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department's website, or I mean, excuse me, YouTube channel, they have all of the videos for officer involved shootings for the past, I think back to like 2017, and so they sort of label them, by year, and then by the incident or the number. So they've already had 5 officer-involved shootings this year. There's been a there's been a couple of deaths, and then a couple of just of non-deaths. So that was really mostly what I wanted to talk about. Uh, I'm curious now to jump on and see what happened with Bao. Those guys didn't get arrested, did they? I hope they didn't get arrested. Anyways, I wanted to kind of keep this short and just kind of talk about that because the crime at the Bellagio just kind of brought up, it hits home because I like to play poker, and so I found the whole thing of robbing the poker cage interesting, and especially I just kind of, I don't know if it was like a suicide by cop, like why you would try to go to the busiest place on the strip, on a Saturday night and do that. I mean, he could have done it at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, and had a lot better chance, I think, of getting away and not, but because Saturday night is just cop central on the strip. So, anyways, I'm gonna head out tomorrow. I plan on going down and trying to get my CAD record for the event at the post office. I believe it costs like $10, and so that's kind of my first step of starting to try to get, what I would call discovery. It's just the information that the police have on their side. So everybody have a good day, and maybe I'll jump on later. Oh, we did. Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, you probably saw we did some cop watching Saturday night. I was always like, I don't know why would you do cop watching videos, like maybe Las Vegas audit, or maybe that's a possibility. I was always kind of like, why cop watching videos seem really boring, right? Like usually there people are just standing there and then nothing's going on. But High Desert, kind of showed me the importance of it. One is that you're getting, you're usually getting them when they're doing some bullshit like, searching illegally, searching people illegally, reading through their cars. You know, um, it's a lot more likely that to get those people off. Cell 411 app. No, I'll have to, let me write that down and check that out. Um, so usually, I kind of learned from Tom Zebra videos, right, that a lot of times the cops just pack up when they see cameras arrive and then they head out. Um, so that's one important reason, is it's helping the people out on the street, help keeping the cops accountable. And so second reason to do it is for public outreach. If you saw, we were at the Arco gas station there, and we talked to quite a few people. In fact, some of the people that were there started getting their cameras out and filming the police, and we told them what we were doing, and so felt like a really good, education moment. Um, but High Desert pointed out that kind of the most important thing is to sort of get them into the mindset of where they understand that you're out there, and you're filming them, and then you're gonna film them, and it doesn't matter if you get arrested and they throw you in jail. I have to give it up to Prince Vegeta, because that's exactly what happened to him, cop watching. And you got to get them sort of used to the idea that you're going to be out there, you're going to be making contact with them, you're going to be filming them, um, so that when they show up to the post office or whatever other place that you're auditing, they already know, like you already know, they already know you. They already know what you're doing, and they already know that you're going to be filming. And so I think it sort of trains them not to just come in like Officer Farrington did, all heavy handed and start throwing people around. And yeah, so that's that was High Desert's advice, that we don't focus on auditing, for now. That instead we focus on cop watching, and sort of making our presence known, and then working from there. So that's kind of the plan. Um, Anyways, yeah, 20 minutes is probably longer than I wanted to talk. Yeah, they are more scared of cameras than anything else. Yeah. And so we shoot. We had Bao here, James Freeman, High Desert, and then we were like a half a dozen Las Vegas auditor strong Saturday night, and that was without even having Las Vegas auditor and Las Vegas Free Press there. So we have a pretty good crew coming up, or even Joshua Martinez, who he's on what do you call it, curfew. He has a curfew. So yeah. So thanks Phil High Desert, for coming down. You really kind of inspired everybody. Got the troops out, and so even though we didn't see, it was funny. We were driving around Saturday night, and it's like, if you're not trying to do a cop watch, you see somebody pulled over every 2 blocks. And I mean, we went to some of the busiest areas. I know where I always see cops, in high activity, and we just drove around and trying to find cherries and berries. It was very frustrating, not to see a lot of activity. But we did. I don't know if you saw the video. There was a homeless guy, and they were rooting through his stuff. And the little short officer, I forget his name. He tried to tell Kiernan, to back up, and Kiernan just, basically told him, just go back to what you're doing. Don't worry about me. Go back to what you're doing. And they did. And I mean, within 45 seconds, they had uncuffed the guy and turned off their lights and went on down the road. When we had walked up, they were searching through his shopping cart of stuff. So, that felt like a little victory. Don't know if that guy would have ended up in jail that night, but he was definitely, kind of being mistreated there. So, anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for coming on. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to say is I went over 1,000 subs. So everybody who's subscribed to me, thank you so much. It's amazing. I never expected to be able to get so many subs so quickly. So I appreciate everybody that gets on and subs or does a like or makes a comment. I appreciate it, and I try to read all the comments. I may not answer them all, but I try to read them. So, all right, thanks, Nancy, and